Okay, should we start? Sure, yeah. Okay. Hello. Let's start, everyone. Okay, first of all, welcome and thank you for coming, and thank you again for your patience to wait for us to start for today. So yeah, today is our subsequent fireside chat with Stuart and Dr. Tan Phang about SUV, and we all know you have a lot of questions, and actually we already have bunch of questions coming from you guys. And there's some a lot of new people in here. Let us introduce ourselves again. Okay, first of all, about myself, I'm Andy Pui. I'm running Ontario Startup Studios, which is the space you guys seeing here. So Ontario Startup Studio, basically we provide service to own startup, especially startup under SUV program. So we support from end to end, anything that you need from product development to marketing and events, and even the guidance and advice on how to do how to better position yourself in the SUV program. Welcome our guest for today. So first of all is Stuart. So I guess all of you already know him, but but let me introduce again. Stuart is CEO of Pycap. Pycap is one of the designated organization in the SUV program. He also the Pycap is also on the venture capital fund, and he's also CFO of several very successful companies. Thank you for joining us today. And here is Dr. Tan Phang. Tan Phang is an immigration lawyer. He also the adjunct professors that teaching course at the Queen and
University of Victoria.
Yeah, University of Victoria on immigrations. So basically, he are the one who teaching on the RCIC out there. So he the masters. And recently, he also joined the board director for CILA, Canadian Immigration Lawyers Associations. And the reason we choose today is because CILA just had a very big event yesterday. And through the event, CILA have a chance to talk to ICC and also discussing a lot of interesting stuff. That's why I want to book Dr. Tan for today to actually share more with you guys and maybe also speculate a little bit about what's going on so that you guys can better prepare for your journey. So without further ado, let's start. So by the way, for the people that joining online, are you hearing us well? Today we have to upgrade the device. Hopefully it work better. Okay, yeah, let's start. Let me start with a few quick questions first. And like I say, Tan is the star today. So any interesting news from yesterday?
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me, and very nice to see all of you here and those following us online. My name is Tan Phang, and well, I'm here today is not on behalf of CILA, just on myself, and I will share my personal opinions and my analysis with the recent change and updates with the immigration policy. So yesterday CILA, we had a first national conference. CILA is a Canadian Immigration Lawyer Association, and we share the same concerns with most of you here, or all of you here, about the recent updates and change in immigration law and policy and the enforcement of by IRCC and the government of Canada. Of course, we cover a lot of topics, and not only about startups visa, or we also talk about judicial review and mandamus. I'll have a chance to share more details about that when it comes to any question about writ of mandamus. And there's a lot of pitfall around that. But in general, we had a chance to speak with the federal court and also the representatives for IRCC. And of course, you know that recently there's a lot of issues and concerns about the policy, and we had also expressed our concern about the new bills and something along that line. And of course, in the conference, it's just about sharing information and networking and looking toward the future. And we all hope that we'll have more positive immigration policy and enforcement, transparent enforcement. And so honestly, we don't have any substantive thing that what it will be yes or no or what will concretely be. We'll talk about if any questions, and I will try to have some inputs about what I had from the conference when answering the questions. But yeah, I know that before this conference, sorry, this meeting, there's many people send me emails or text message and ask whether the visa and the program will be canceled and something along that line. And because I saw a posting somewhere, a web posting, a blog post, my opinions and my experience that they all we in the country of freedom of expression. So anyone can write whatever they want, and especially it's not offensive. It's keep in mind that it's the personal opinion, and just they gather documents or information from somewhere, and it's not a PhD dissertation. It is not a government report, so it's their own opinion. And it recalled me to some of the person some years ago. They said that the TR to PR will be invited again, and they asked people to come to make deposit for them to help them with the TR to PR. At that time, I warned many people that be careful, right? And some people lost money but for that. So the same. Now, when they know that the sets of people is a concern, a lot of issues, especially the startup visa people, right? And some may want to take advantage, some may not. Some just purely want to express their experience or opinions. But just keep in mind that you're professionals and you may know what you're doing, and trust your own guts and what you're doing, and the professionals who are helping you, right? Open your eyes and your ears to some outside information. It's not something bad, but keep in mind that the source of information and the reliability and what it is, right? If it's opinion, I also have my opinion. Everyone here has opinion, right? It depends. It may be right, may be wrong, right? It may be right today and wrong tomorrow. So don't make it as a pressure on you and scare you, right? Because when you're scared, you may make the mistake. Okay. So just keep in mind that it's a source of reference information. Maybe right, maybe wrong, maybe right to someone, but not to someone else, right? And that's my advice to everyone now when reading something and finding information, because I know that now many people wants to write something and put on blog post. I myself don't do it because I know that when I write something, even I say that it's my opinion, that will have some influence on someone else, and it's not right to do so, right? And so that's why I'm not blaming anyone for writing something or sharing information, but to audience, my advice that be careful, okay? Take a grain of salt with it, and in the end of the day, don't scare yourself. You are the person who know what you're doing better than anyone else, right? And combine information and try to do the best. Yeah, so that's it. We'll go into it.
Okay, super. Thank you. Okay, so today we change the format a little bit, and Stuart, you want to run the show?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so as you noticed when you registered for the event, there was a question asking if you have questions for us or comments that you would like addressed. So we actually have them here. So we distilled a lot of them because of course there were a lot of similar questions out there. And also there was quite a few, I'm assuming, so we can't necessarily get through all of them, but at least we'll use this as an opportunity to provide whatever information we can to help you assess the current landscape. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the questions. We're going to open it up to discussion among us. If you have things that you would like to contribute with, we're happy to take that as well. So, okay, first off, why has the processing time increased from 18 months to over 95 months? So that's a question that you can throw out there.
Yeah, so well, I don't know why I started. But yeah, there's many reasons as to why even ISC may not have the answer, because they depends on their resources, and they roughly calculate the processing time depending on the number of employees they have, right? Because tomorrow, if some of them like resign, well, they have some shortfall. or they lay off some, right? Some reason about their own resources. Or there's another stream of refugees coming from another country, right? There's a conflict happened somewhere. Canada have to express our commitments to the war. It may take some of the resources and the time will go up. So processing time it is not a stable number. It depends on many factors. The second reason, it depends on, for example, the number of refusal, right? If they refuse and you get rid of some, the processing time will go down. But if they want to examine more, right, the processing time will go up. And the number of new applications. Think of if a lot of people still interested in SUV, right? Sending, like just feeding in the portal, then the processing time will go up, right? But if everyone said, oh, hold on, 30, 50 month, I will not go into SUV. And the number of new applications going down, so the processing time will go down, right? So the processing time, the posted one, I think it's a rough calculation based on some algorithm, right? Depending on the variables that they have. So they themselves, they may not have a concrete answer, right? Because they don't know tomorrow how many new applications will get it, right? So it's just today. The second reason, I think, this is my opinion, is some defensive way IRCC is doing, because now they're receiving many writ of mandamus applications, right? Saying that, well, if it's 18 months, think on 18 months plus 1 day, I will bring you to the court because you haven't processed my application. That's why, well, okay, now our limited resources, I will put it 10 years, come back in 10 years, bring it to the court, not today, right? So that may be some way they want to reduce the pressures on them from the public, because if everyone look at, think of, you are in the process, right? And you submitted 17 months, and now this processing time is 18 months. Next month, I will bring you to the court if you don't have a decision for me. That's why it will be, it may be one factor, in my opinion. So again, it is something that it depends on various factors. But as I said, I share many times that the posted processing time doesn't mean that within that day, exactly in that day, you will have a decision. If you have a very strong, persuasive project, that everything is clear and it can be decided earlier, they may make a decision earlier. And it depends on the resources as well, right? If it's not, it may be, so saying 10 years, it may be 11 years, 13 years for your specific applications, right? So it's just a time showing to the public that now it roughly at this moment, it will take them that long to process a project, right? On a regular basis. It doesn't mean that everyone have to wait for the same lengthy dates, because it fluctuates, going up and down depending on many things. So I know that it's scary to have it, but I spoke with many of my colleagues, said that think of a startup which is innovative business. After 10 years, is it still innovative, right? So there's no point having a processing time of 10 years, 35 years. Honestly, with one of the announcements is 35 years, and I don't think it's realistic, and it doesn't make any sense for processing a permanent residence applications or any applications within 10 years, for 10 years or longer. So we also joke that we are now in a golden age of immigration. In 10 years, 20 years, you can look back and say, I came to Canada, I submitted an application during the 2025, when everything was like that, the posted processing time was 10 years, right? Or like everyone here practicing in that golden age, call it, because now there's some change from the government, and then a lot about the policy, and also, that Canada and the US still have a lot of issues, right? The government, they have to spend their resource on that, on Mr. Trump, right? And something else. So startup visa is a part of the permanent resident pathway, on top of for many temporary residence applications, right? So there's so many things that's going on, and we are just part of the system. And so be patient, because it doesn't mean that it will be forever 10 years or forever 35 years. Because if it is the case that no one will apply, and it doesn't make sense for the government to keep this program. Okay, so yeah, I think that maybe, yeah, so that's my opinion. Take care of that. That's my opinion. Maybe while someone said that no, it's true that now every SUV project will be processed in 10 years or 35 years. Well, I can't.
And I think that in November, they're going to be issuing like some updates to the immigration levels, I believe. Is that is that scheduled, or is that something that people are just hoping might happen?
Well, no, that's normally the time. But I don't have a fixed schedule. I don't know exactly. But yeah. Well, now you know that they have a level plan, right? And also we have, and the public have some um comments on it and reaction on it. The government may or may not, depending on them, right? To review the level plan and see that, well, that could be the initial one, and now we may twist a little bit, depending on the situation and the pressure they receive, because previously it was before the election, right? And then after the election, and there's a lot of change within Canada. So normally it's the time, but whether or not it will be a change or what direction it could be, I personally I don't know. But now we're giving, like CILA also give comments on that plan, and I believe that other groups of interest in our society also have it. So the government may take a look into it, review it. If any, I think it could be a positive way, because after receiving feedback, it means that someone give some kind of comment on it, and contributes to the level plan. Work in a positive way.
Yeah, and we know that the RCC recently also sending an email to all the designated organization, try to also explaining, just clarify about the current processing time. Probably you can share a little bit with everyone on what's the message there.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm happy to share what's been publicly posted already, because there has been some articles, but I don't want to divulge like the direct communication from IRCC. So what has been shared publicly about this processing time is the fact that the way that they are calculating the processing time has changed. Whereas in the past, they looked at I believe the average historical data in terms of how long the processing of applications has taken for a decision to be made. And now they're trying this new process by forward-looking forecast. So from what I read, the 10 years currently is legitimate. However, there is an expectation that it could likely change in the future, as we've heard. I believe that the number of files that are going to be processed, particularly the ones that are going to be rejected, should impact the processing times. So for all of you who have legitimate companies and you're working hard and you're in Canada or even overseas and you're gaining traction in the Canadian market, I believe that maybe that could be an advantage, that the scrutiny has gone up substantially, because all of the applications that maybe shouldn't be in the system might get filtered out and hopefully speed up the processing time.
Just on top of it, I just share one funny story. It's not about SUV. It should give you some information about how the government works. I spoke with one of my friends who working for a municipality, and he said that normally when we advise the client, the people coming and submit an application for permits and ask how long does it take. And you know that is very simple. It's not like IRCC's applications, right? In this situation, there's so many factors. But in that case, he knows it's 5 days. They will tell the people that 10 days, because they don't want to commit to the fixed 5 days, because there's many things change, right? They want to give them some buffering time to make sure that they will serve it better, and don't want to increase this expectation. just want to decrease it and make sure that then they will meet with the expectation. But in this situation, you know that there's so many factors, right? The IRCC, I say that they may not know themselves, not know, because in the other case, he knows 5 days for sure. But in this case, I believe that IRCC may not know how long it will take, depending on so many factors. Okay, so that is, I agree with Stuart about that.
Okay, great. And okay, so there's like you talked in the beginning about these articles that have been floating around that's very anxiety kind of inducing. And one thing that I believe people get very worked up about is Bill C-12 and the risk of IRCC canceling applications and programs without any explanation or reasoning or potential recourse. So perhaps we could address that and discuss that.
Yeah, so the BC12 give the governor in council some discretion. They said that to cancel some class of applications or even visas. So it means it's not only applications, but also the documents that's already issued. And that triggered concerns from practitioners like us. And we also sent have drafted our comments on it, and it's on the first hearing. And so now they're still receiving comments and feedbacks from the public. So personally, we don't think that is a good idea to have it, because it gives the governing council so much discretion. And from a rule of law perspective, it's not about immigration. It is about the rule of law. And it may bring about a lot of problems, not only to the clients, but also to the governments, because they will face with a lot of class action in the future. And the judge will not be happy with it, because yesterday I have a number of cases brought to the federal court. And the court said that since 2019 to 2025, the number of cases triple, the number of staff still remain the same. Think of this bill. It will not triple, it would 9 times higher, right? No one can deal with a case at the court. So there's a lot of consequences if that would pass, or if it passed and the governor in council abuse the discretion that, oh, well, I will cancel it. But I don't like that class of application, I will cancel it. Now, even the law allows them to have the discretion. Still, the rule of law doesn't give them that much discretion to enforce it. So again, the paper, the writing doesn't say about that. It just look at the law and say that it draft that way. And if it is the case, they will, right? No, they will not will. It should be made. There's a possibility. But also we in Canada, in the country with run by the rule of law, right? We have the court system and we have the social community. Yeah, there's a lot of professional groups and people. We may not allow the government to abuse their discretion even if the parliament give them that discretion. So yeah, I personally we will working on it to fight against it, to give comments, and hopefully that they will adjust and change a little bit. Not to give the governor and council those discretion. But if it's the case, think of the worst scenario. It's passed, the C-12 passed. It doesn't mean that the governor and council is not the IRCC. The governor and council is not the IRCC. Think of not the officer. Okay, doesn't mean that the officer on one day he doesn't feel well and said that will cancel everything. No, it's not, because the way some people writing it just give an image to people that it will be the case, but it's not. Okay, and even if think of the second worst scenario, that they cancel a class of application or even class of documents that way without reason, well, we still have the court, right? And if it's a class action, there's a lot of it will affect not only one person, there's many people, right? Then the burden will be on the courts and the government to follow that, right? So before someone making any decision, they will have to think about the consequences, because we're in Canada. We're not ruled by one person. and we have like check and balance system. So yeah, it may be true, right? But step by step, if it's worst scenario, still have this. The second worst, we still have that, right? So yeah, from my personal practical experience, I don't think we're trying to get not to get it in past that way, but if it's okay, it's not end of the world.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna take this opportunity to give a bit of a disclaimer. So the purpose of this whole session is for discussion purposes only. So please do not rely on this discussion for strategizing, planning, or processing your own application for immigration or for your business. This is just a friendly kind of discussion to help shed a little bit of light, but as a rule of thumb, always, always, always seek guidance and follow guidance from an immigration professional representative. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I agree. So again, I say that it's my personal opinion, and I always joke my clients that scaring clients will help me make more money, right? Because when they're scared, they come to me. But I don't like client coming to me for that reason, right? So again, it's just like you coming to a conference or reading something. It's just like giving you some additional information, right? And you have discretion to process it and make your own decision, and it should be wise based on your analysis and well informed decision.
So when we look at the news and we get a sense of, or people discuss an anti-immigration sentiment out there, can we reasonably assume that the target of a lot of people's discomfort with immigration is more focused on temporary foreign workers and student visas because they're taking up housing and taking up employment, particularly for entry-level positions. And that might be the reason, pure speculation, why the Bill C-12 could be used or could be enacted to solve that problem and to get the public interest more in line with immigration policies. Whereas can it be assumed that a program like the Startup Visa program is different in the sense that it's for economical purposes. So in fact, this is an opportunity to bring money into the country and create jobs, which is kind of like the opposite. So can we hope at least that will give a little bit of comfort to the Startup Visa program practitioners and applicants? Does that make sense, basically?
Well, that may be a lines of opinion, right, by someone to try to distinguish between temporary and permanent residents, right? But for me, Canada needs both, right? We rely on immigrants, and permanent residents, of course, is something very important to Canada. But think of even temporary residents; they're not less important. We just like the government is just trying to get rid of the illegal or some unfaithful temporary residents coming here not to study, claiming to have a study permit, but not to study. It's trying to find something else, doing something else here, or come under the fraudulent job offer, right? And a burden to Canada. That is what Canada or any governments are trying to get rid of, right? It is a matter of enforcement. It's not a matter of law. No country or no government, especially if we're talking about Canada, that say that we will get rid of the temporary residents. Right? No, it's not wise to do so, right? Because we need skilled worker, we need students, we need scholars coming to Canada, and Canada has been built on that ground, so we cannot get rid of temporary residents. It's just like try to filter and make sure that what we're doing is right. So for me, both temporary residents and permanent residents, regardless of the streams or pathway, as long as they're doing right in Canada, they are welcome to Canada. And yesterday, I spoke with one of the senior lawyers, and she said that forgot the years, but when she started the practice, and 30 years ago, maybe, I don't remember exactly, the number of immigrants there was 100,000, and now it's 300 something thousand with the plan going up, right? And now it's reducing down to 300 something. And we see, and for many of us, it's a disaster because we're coming from up, down. But think of 30 years ago, it was here, 100,000, and everything was good. Because well, we kept out that at that time, 100,000 was wise, was like no frauds or nothing at all. But well, think of the level plan, right? It's even now it's going down, but it doesn't mean that it's end of, I think 30 years ago, 100,000 a year, right? It's still good, right? So I don't know. I myself don't have a ideal number of what is good. For me, it's just like what we're doing here, right? What we're bringing to Canada. If an entrepreneur is doing right and they believe that what they're doing is contributing to Canada. Startup visa, think of three, right? Innovative idea, create jobs, and have global competitiveness is very descriptive. If you believe that your project have that, then that's fine. You don't have to think about the processing time because end of the process, you're doing business here, right? And then you'll be awarded with the PR, right? The same for the temporary residents. I still have students coming to Canada, and they have no problem with study permits. I still have a skilled worker coming to Canada with a work permit among these days. So I joke them that they got a golden ticket because now, like the rate is very low for the approval. But when we review an application, we see that they will do good here, right? Then that's fine. Someone comes to me with a requirement that, oh, I need a work permit or I need a study permit. When I review and said, well, you may not have it, but they said, well, I have money, right? Well, of course, it's not the only thing that you need to come to Canada. So again, it is about who doing what in Canada, right? It's not about what type of pathway, because when Canada designed pathway to come to Canada, they have reason, right? And they always involve. It's just how we enforce it. And the more a pathway is abused, and the more the government will react to it and try to block it, scrutinize those people, I think.
So basically, let me try to summarize what we discussed about the BUC 12, right? So basically, what in BUC 12 is provide more power to not just the RCC officer, but basically the whole governor.
Yeah, the governor and council.
And councils, so that they can do things more effectively. And for example, like they don't need to go through different hoops, like multiple hoops like before. Now they can make things faster. But with that, it doesn't signal anything about SUV, signal anything about any particular immigration pathway.
Yeah.
But right now, the interpretation out there is that, hey, this bill is exactly designed to kill SUV. So that is something actually very wrong, and we need to be careful not to stuck into it, right? And then also, if we look at the whole immigration situation in Canada, SUV program is actually one of the smallest programs. And there's so many other immigration issues out there with the temporary resident, including students, including low wage worker, including refugee and whatever, right? So maybe the power is being used to fix those things first, so that at least hopefully it will provide more capacity from the ICCs so that they can process all the stream faster. And look from SUV's point of view, basically the purpose of program is to bring entrepreneurs, to bring business, to bring capitals, and to hope that this business, this capital can contribute to Canada economies. And of course, have eased up a lot issue, including housing, including jobs, including whatever that the government want to fix. So with that point of view, is it fair to say that basically SUV should be the one who been preserved among all these change rather than be one to be attacked by the change? I'm trying to say that.
I think that's a fair opinion.
Yeah, because I don't have a concrete answer to you, but I agree with you that there's nothing in the BC to talk about any specific pathway. For the writing. So it's just like combine the processing time plus the VC12 plus some personal interest, and then they will try to leading some opinions. And I have no problem with that because I just have my own point of view. But yeah, so here's the separate things. First, we'll talk about processing time. It's not about SUV. Many others have a longer processing time. And the second is the VC12. It has a problem from a rule of law perspective, right? It's not a problem to any specific pathway or temporary or permanent residence. It is the issues that we challenge from a legal perspective. And about the prioritize of the pathway and program, SUV is one of the federal economic pathway, permanent residency, right? And before we have the self-employed, but now they stop receiving application. So if there's something wrong, the government will say that we cancel it or stop receiving application, just like they did with the self-employed. But now there's no announcement. And given that startup visa is the only economic pathway for now at the federal level. So again, Canada needs everything, all the different pathways. Entrepreneurs coming to Canada, right? Skilled worker, students. So if they close the startup visa, it means the government of Canada give a signal that now we don't need entrepreneur, right? Anymore. Just come to study and work and sponsor your families, and that's it, right? Going through, or you go to province and ask them to nominate you, coming out with you permanent residence, right? That would be how we interpret if SUV stopped. Otherwise, they will create a new pathway to replace SUV. Now it take time, right? Or they will refine the requirements for SUV. That's how they work.
Okay, maybe this is a good question for Andy. Okay, so when a founder arrives in Canada, what are some immediate things they can do to start showing active engagement in the business?
Yeah, so from our experience working with more than 20 different SUV companies right now, actually, when you first landed there, we even have a very long checklist. And when we share with our clients, they've been surprised because there's so many things that you can do. So I guess first of all, you need to settle for yourself first. Settle for yourself, meaning that if you are landing in Ontario, try to get an OHIP, right? Driver license, some basic stuff for you and your family. So the first few weeks to a month to settle yourself, and then the next thing is to for your business. So so most of the SUV companies already incorporated, but when you come to Canada, the first thing you need to do is open a bank account, because that will really show that you established here. Then the next logical thing is find an office. Actually, either a real office or a virtual office we do, basically just to signal out there that, hey, we have presence here, and update those things immediately into your website. Your website need to show that you have a local office here, especially a local phone number here to show that you are legitimate operating in Canada. Then the next thing that you can do is start looking back to your visit plan. So one thing to note first. So for a lot of client that we talk to, they have misunderstanding about the visit plan, because maybe they hear different kind of advice, but the visit plan for different visit program like BNB or other provincial program require the entrepreneur to have to carry out exactly the plan. Because what you promise to do a visit in the province, for example, like you will open a coffee shop, you open a nail salon, you hire 2, 3, 4 people. You need to follow that exactly, because that's your commitment to the province or to whatever the program you attach it to. But for startups, it's all about trial and errors. It's all about validation, meaning that the visit plan that you submitted to maybe Pycap or whatever destination, the organization that you were applying, is the plan at that point of time from your own knowledge that this is how you going to do your business in Canada. But when you land into Canada, things change for sure. Especially now, maybe only a year later than you land, then things already change. Whatever you're trying to do already been solved by something else. There's new technology out there, for example, like AIs. so many things, right? So my constant advice to the founders when they worry that whether they should change the business plan, I always told them that you need to change the business plan, especially after like 6 months to a year. You need to adapt your business plan. So then go back to what you can do to change your business plan. You go out there, meeting potential customer, meeting potential partner, understand the space that you are in. So normally in the staff training program, we often talking about the problem and the solution, right? So you always say that, okay, there's a problem of these things for business or individuals in Canada, and I want to solve it this way. So for the problems, you need to validate whether that problem is still correct or not, because it's all about your speculation from when you are either in Vietnam, in China, in Iran, or whatever. You speculate that there's going to be that problem in Canada, but maybe not, or maybe there's something else you can learn. So you have to immediately. Normally people saying that, can I just do market research? Yeah, you can, but I won't encourage that. As a founder, you should be the one who talk directly to your customer to learn those insights, because that's not just to report to ICC, but to help you form the better hypothesis about what's in the market will be, and then you can change, you can update the business plan, and then allow further step further along the line can happen as well. So try to find where your client is. Validate the problem, now validate your solutions. If you have to already have an MVP, maybe bring them to demo, or if you haven't got the MVP yet, you need to develop an MVP. So then participating into like networking events, for example, like this one, is a good opportunity for you to hearing advice from others and maybe networking with each other. There, I think the good thing about, at least for GTA, Toronto, and Mississauga, is that there's plenty of events, business events that you can join to network, to even like tap into government support, and they have different support for you, and then different organization can provide different things as well. You have to go to event to learn about it, and tap into those support, tap into some training program that in related to your space. So to make sure that you are immerse yourself in the market. That's what I would recommend, and of course try to continue developing your product, developing your market, and show some tractions. Like so, when we share that traction is the best thing that you show right now. So what traction really mean? Traction is that whether you have how many customers you have, how many trial that you have, how much revenue that if you can, then you can show, how many employee that you can hire, how many experiments that you can run, for example. So you need to show some movement, some progress, because from our experience, what RSCC really want to see is your effort, try to develop your stuff in Canada. And of course, behind that, they were always asking, what's the benefit for all these things? If you try a lot, but there's no benefit to Canada, that doesn't make sense to them. But at least they need you to do something. And we can see a lot of rejections, and even for those guys that go to the court and try to fight with RCC, we look into those case from Kenley, right? Most of the rejection is coming from that they didn't do anything. They couldn't provide any proof that they are trying something. So again, make a lot of effort, and because whatever effort, there will be so-called evidence coming out from that. If you talk to clients, if you sell one to one client, you have a contract, you have an MOU, those things are evidence, and the more evidence you can show, the better, right? So yeah, that's what we normally recommend. And of course, case by case, depends on your staff, it depends on your business, your ideas. There are a lot more things that we can help you brainstorm together, but that's some quick advice.
Yeah, I'll just add to that a little bit. Like that, to be honest, like for me, starting the company Pycap and our venture capital firm, it was because I was constantly going to events in the space. That's where I got the idea. That's where I developed partnerships and connections, and really got like a on the ground insider perspective into that industry. So regardless of if you're a startup visa entrepreneur or not, like getting out of the building, as they say in Silicon Valley, and just exposing yourself to as many opportunities as possible, I should definitely advise on taking advantage of that. Okay, so there was a question here. This is a little bit linked, and it's someone asked like a few questions about Pycap in terms of support and updating us on what they can do with their applications. And I would definitely we just posted something on the Canvas platform that I'm sure a lot of you received. It is a reminder to follow us on social media and be very cognizant of every email and whether it's coming from Pycap directly or if it's coming through the Canvas platform, because that's where we share a lot of information in terms of opportunities to connect, events, information that can be useful to you. And I'm happy to see that there's many of our entrepreneurs that do show up all the time, which is great. But we have a lot of companies, and I think we could definitely get a lot more. So be aware of that. And then, of course, when you come, you'll notice that I like engaging with the entrepreneurs in our community, whether they've long since graduated from the program or they're currently in the program. There's nothing more fun for me than getting updates on how all of you are doing. And then, of course, it's helpful for your immigration process as well, to my understanding, because IRCC likes to see a good relationship between the designated entity and the startup that's in the program. Okay, I'm going to pivot here for a question for Dr. Fan. Somebody asked, should I consider a backup pathway like the PNP program?
That's a good question. And this is a valid question that I've received from some of my clients. And for one hand, it really depends on your family's plan, because there's no problem with exploring different pathway and first come first serve, right? Whatever comes first, you have a chance and you apply for it, and there's nothing wrong with it. But the other problems for those who are asking that questions, from my personal opinion, is that, well, then what is your commitment to projects, right? Because if you come and you're creating IRCC that you're doing, you are devoting your time and resources on the project for the startup visas, and end of the way is the PR, right? You're not coming for the PR first and let go of the business, right? So again, it is that at the time for you to review the startup visa applications. And for those who don't think that it makes sense, right? Personally, you don't think that it makes sense, and fine, okay, now I'll find some way out, right? Some way else. It depends on them. They know better than someone else. And my answer is that there's no problem with finding a pathway, right? But if, again, it's just like exploring, wasting your time and doing something else, and then for example, if you're going that pathway and the province changed the program, right? Stop there, right? The province stop receiving entrepreneurs applications, or even it's not entrepreneur, but it's like skilled worker, right? Then you get stuck there again, right? You have to find somewhere else, right? So it depends on that person. There's no harm, there's no problem, there's no restrictions on that. You feel free. And of course, a family may have the main main applicants for the startup visa, and the other spouse may explore other pathway, right? But make sure that you still, if you're doing right with the business, with the startup visa, don't let it go, because then it will not give the good faith to IRCC that you're coming here first. It's not about to do business, not for the startup, it's the startups, but it's for the visa. And I said that it's a visa startup, it's not a startup visa. And that will not create a good image, because then even it's a PNP, whatever, it will go up back to IRCC, right? You can't have permanent residents from a province. It will go back to IRCC. They will see that you have submitted as the UV applications and you let it go and find something else. Okay, that is something you should keep in mind. And yeah.
Is there any other questions, or should we open it up?
Yeah, I think that there are a question in here that maybe you can also share a little bit is what strategy the founder can use to balance between the staff growth and the current uncertainty, because right now we say maybe not 10 years, right? But it may be 7 years, 8 years, and which means that they, even from business plan point of view, right? So how long they should plan and what they should do during that, and maybe we can share starting from your point of view from Dio, and then maybe I can also chip in a little bit there.
Oh, sure, definitely. Okay, so the way that I would approach this question is basically to just, I mean, I'm gonna sound like a broken record from the last panel session, but
A lot of new people, don't worry.
okay, good. Okay, just always focus on your business. Think of your company like you would if you're creating it in your home country or in Canada or elsewhere. Like, it takes a very long time for any business, any entrepreneurial endeavor to become successful and to start generating cash flow. So if you are focused on that, then you should be building up the traction, as Andy touched on, which is so critical for your immigration file, to be able to showcase that to IRCC. And I noticed another question in here related to the pace of your investment as it relates to the lengthy timelines for getting your PR and running your business. And again, like that type of question goes right back to the management of your company and making your company successful. I gave a presentation not too long ago about something called the J curve, which is all about managing your cash flow, your burn rate versus your runway, for those who remember. Yeah. So it's very important for any business, of course, to make sure they don't run out of money. So you have to be hyper diligent, whether you raise capital or you have a ton in the bank. Just for me, I am absolutely ruthless as a CFO when it comes to spending money. Like, I walk into businesses, I'm like, okay, you want my advice? Why do you need this money? How much are you spending? And why can't we bring this number as close to zero as much as we can? Because the more you could cut back on that burn rate, the longer your runway is going to be. So that's critical for your business to be successful. But then, of course, the added bonus is you're going to be prolonging that timeline of being actively engaged on your company as well, and having the resources to last you until you get your PR.
Yeah, maybe a follow-up question on that as well is that, so because we are also advising the founder to show progress to ICC, and progress sometimes costs money, and then they also need to reserve cash. So is there any further advice on how to balance that?
Yeah, I would say showing traction doesn't just take money. Like, I would say holistically, it takes resources. So resources could be money. It could also be your reputation. It could also be your time, your network, your focus, all of those things. So anytime you take a unit of value or your resource and you put it towards your business, theoretically, you should be creating value in your company. Even if you're going down like a negative path, that's going to lead to a dead end, and you need to pivot. At least you've ruled out that avenue that you're going on. So you could cross that off and then move on to the next one as you continuously grow your business. Yeah, just like any business endeavors, be very careful with how you spend your money. Like, do you need to do this Google Ads? Do you need to have an office space? Do you need to have a new car? You know, there's all of these little things that you could always cut back. Like, for me, it's always focusing on increasing shareholder value and bringing your company as close as possible to cash flow positive as you possibly can. Like, that's for me, laser focus any venture that I'm involved with. How do we start making money? Like, I don't care if it's the most innovative AI technology or what, like, just we got to get cash flow coming in before the resource depletes.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned a very important keyword, pivot. Because also from my experience, a lot of founders are too afraid to pivot, and I shared before, I think pivot is something, especially with the current uncertainty, you really need to consider. Because pivot is not just like you do something completely different, But it's always pivot, meaning that you need to keep one thing and change the other things, right? Whether you change your, you keep the customers, but you change the problem, or you keep the problem and change the customers. And again, people are, especially SUV founders, are afraid of pivoting because they worry ISCC going to look at the business plan and then saying that why you're not doing this. I guess our advice is that you, as long as you can justify your pivot, especially there are a lot of new things that you learn on the market, and you can put that into your business plan, your progress letter, update to ICC saying that this is what I found out, and now I have to change this on to survive. And actually that's a very good way to show ICC that you are entrepreneurs, right? Entrepreneur is supposed to be problem solving, to be creative. And go back to the question that I throw at you about the balancing, right? Because not all the progress costs money, but it need you to be creative as well. So what is the different way I can do this, or how I can make some money at the moment based on what I have? So yeah, as an entrepreneur, you need to keep doing that as well. Otherwise, no one knows it's a 5 year, 10 years, and you need to balancing a lot of stuff. So yeah, but go back to your entrepreneur roots and figure it out. Cool. You want to add?
No.
Yeah, I think we can open to the question from the audience.
I have a question regarding to if the startup versus SUV program focus on the business, why we are not having closed work permit and we have now open work permit? So the government saying that you are allowed to work somewhere else, but still looking for the businesses, like, you know what it's like. So it's
Yeah.
opposite. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
a contradiction. Yeah.
Yeah. So your question about why they give open work permit to startups.
I'm looking for the closed one, and I need the closed one. I need the one to show that I'm under this company. But
Yeah,
that
I
would
have
close
reached
it.
out. I have reached out for that questions. I have reached out to IRCC and they confirmed to me that the A77 is still available, a closed work permit. So yeah, and it depends on whether you want to apply for it. So, but again, it depends on the application. Okay, I don't say that you will get approved with the A77. But that is what I got from, I asked that specific question to IRCC, and that is what I received from them. Okay, again, that is the one thing. And the second part of the question is why they give the open work permit to startup visa applicants, because I have experienced many of my clients, they need an open work permit because when they start up here, their business, they have it depends on their service to the clients, and sometimes they have to work at the client site. Okay, and they haven't incorporated in Canada. So that's why they need an open work permit to run part of their business on the client side. You get it? That's why they need an open work permit, because if it's a closed work permit, they cannot work there.
Yeah. Open, actually, my eyes to, yeah.
Yeah, but for the closed work permit, it doesn't mean that the well, as far as what I received from IRCC with their answer, because otherwise they will answer me, no, there's no longer closed work permit A77.
And that's what I got. This is the answer I got actually when I approach. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe we have different. Well, it happens, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry for that, because on the public point of view, but I'm taking their job as well. Like I'm SUV broker coming as entrepreneur with my contributing, increase the economy, and now I'm sharing their jobs. So it's a bit of conflict here.
Yeah.
Continue to work on your company with open work permit.
No, it's not my.
No, I understand you want to look further, right?
Yeah.
Why they give open work permit?
I'm not in good faith of to work under my
Right,
company and all
yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah. I know. And that's a valid concern, and I share.
Because it's for myself, with someone with a pharmacy background in public health, I can actually go to the healthcare. The healthcare is open, and
that is the trap. That is a trap, because if you go there, they will see in the history that you're not working for this.
Yeah, this is the problem.
And that is good evidence for them to refuse your application.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so I told my client. Yeah, so that's why I advise.
Here is much more higher.
Yeah, you're right. And that's what I advise my clients when they open work permit to start it. And I said that, no, look at that, okay? Don't fall in the room of that one. Now you can work anywhere you want.
Right.
Of course you can, but then look at history, right? IRCC would say, what have you been doing it within the last 3 years? Well, I work in Tim Hortons. I work in the hospital, right? Then how can you justify your contribution to the project, right? Again, and they can have grounds to refuse your application, right? So, yeah, when they give you that, it's a favor. It doesn't mean that you have to take that favor to do something else. You can still working for your business.
Yeah.
But in some case of like my clients, they needed open work permit to run the business without violating the authorized work, like working without authorization.
Actually, and I see another connected questions. So the team is all the founder are outside Canada. So the question is whether one of them should apply for work permit to come here. Especially it seems that work permit right now is been rejecting a lot. So what's the advice there?
It come back to it depends on the projects, right? And
Yeah.
how you justify that as to why that person needs to come to Canada.
Yeah.
And I know the rate of refusal is now increasing, and many of the reason is that they don't think that it's that person needs to come to Canada. And sometimes an application comes with a family of 4 or 5, right? It's bringing 4 additional temporary residents coming to Canada without like with a full-time job, right? They come to increase the number of temporary residents. While now IRCC is facing the pressures to reduce the number of temporary residents. So they was, well, my opinion, it's not what they told me, but IRCC may think try to give the those study permits or work permits to those who come to Canada to study, right? And like apply for a study permit in Canada or have a job offer in Canada and come to work, right? Yeah. So that's why it really depends on how you justify the work permit. And if it's really not an urgent matter, for now, this time IRCC has their own pressure and they may refuse that ground. So be careful, more careful than before, right? And think of whether or not should not.
Yeah, I think the question is more about if there's no one in their team coming to Canada, is it a bad signal to ICC that they're not serious about the project?
Okay, just give IRCC the refusal. Say that we have applied 5 times. They want to give me a chance. So now you tell me that I'm not coming. You didn't allow me to come. But it also depends on if you can implement your project without going to Canada, right? There's some way you can do so, because looking back at one of the description of the startup visa is creating jobs for Canadian citizens, right? Then you may hire Canadian citizens to do some of the projects in Canada. That is a signal of what you're doing and the impact of your projects to Canada, right? There's only one problem of some projects that without any person who have a work permit is that they cannot open a bank account in Canada. But now some banks allow them to do so, right? With a visitor record, visitor visa. So they want to see the efforts of those who are doing business in Canada, that if you just wait, right, doing nothing until you have a work permit or until you have a permanent residence, it's a chicken and egg, right?
Yeah.
As he said that I will not give you until you do something, right? You said that I will not do something until you give me something, right? And then just forever.
Yeah.
That's why the processing time is getting longer, right?
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other question?
We discussed about as an SUV team, we have to take care about several things.
Mhm.
So what are the common mistakes that SUV file makes so that the process has been delayed or been rejected? The common mistakes.
I don't have a list of common mistakes, because mistake can be anything, right? But for these startup visa projects, I always advise my clients that would you do
Me?
that? No, would no.
Sorry.
Would you do that sort of thing if there was no PR awarded to you, right? So, like Stuart said, that would you do the same in your home country, right? So think of now you are thinking of you starting up a business to make profit, not to get PR. What would you do? Right? Think of it. It will give you the guidelines, right? You're an entrepreneur. You know better about your project, about how to make it like thrive and survive in Canada, right? So forget about PR. Forget about those awards. It is about business. Would you do the same? Right? What would you do? That would give you like the guideline and avoid mistakes, right? Because if you make mistake in your home country, right? When you do business, you may make mistake, right? That's why you try to work with each other how to make it better, make a good decision, right? Doing business, you may make mistake, right? So that is from your own business perspective. You try to avoid making mistakes, right? Don't make up things, right? Then IRCC will see at the records, right? And see, well, yeah, you're doing business. And I can tell that a fake business and a real business will look different.
Right.
I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm not Stuart. But I can tell that if I look at a really fake business, I have read some of the business plan, and I can tell that it doesn't make any sense, right? So that will be the guidelines. I don't have I don't have a list of mistakes because there's many, right?
Okay, so let's take one question from here. Why non-essential member doesn't apply for open work permit? Is there a way for non-essential to apply?
It's tricky now because the guidelines by IRCC is that you must be listed as essential. And if you change the LOS, then they may have to reapply. It will some case law showing that they have to reapply for the permanent residence again. So it's very tricky on that. So yeah, it should be planned accordingly.
Okay, it's possible, but it's very tricky, right?
Yeah, it's tricky. Costly, yeah, to say, because when you change something on the LOS, it affects everyone in the project, and think of several years application, right? You want to redo it.
One more question. Yeah. What are Canadian investors looking for in SUV startup compared to the local startup?
I think that should be the question to Stuart.
So it depends on, I guess, the type of investor you're seeking capital from. Like if it's government, you got to look at their mandate, and often they require the company be domiciled here and be majority owned by Canadian PR holders. So that's a bit of a hurdle. If you're talking about angel investors or VCs, usually it's significant traction with your customer base. They might see the lack of PR as an element of risk because they don't know startup visa potentially or immigration, but they'll say, okay, here's this company and the founder may be refused on their PR, and then what if I just put money into this empty corporation with no one to actually run it? So that is a bit of a challenge associated with it that needs to be handled. However, maybe if you could convince them that this entity is going to be managed regardless of a PR outcome, like it has actual assets that are valuable that the company owns, and that it's going to be run from abroad or Canada, then that could help mitigate that as well. But usually, especially now with like the markets being as volatile as they are, it's the safer the bet possible. Because investing is all about risk and return. So they want to bring down the risk as much as possible and bring up the return potential as well. So market traction is always the critical thing. Like the closer you can bring your company to being revenue positive, the better. So whether it's actually getting sales, which is the best case scenario, next level down on the pecking order would be like a legally binding purchase order. Next down from that would be letters of intent that aren't legally binding. And then possibly a level down from there is perhaps a sample set of your customer segment that is use the product, they like it, and there's some sort of indication that you'd be able to convert those users into paying customers, essentially. No problem.
Okay, we have another question here. Is that what happened if my stuff fail after I received the beer, my beer?
If it's naturally fail, it's not something it's written in instructions of by IRCC. So IRCC doesn't require that your startup must guarantee your startup will succeed, right? So I don't see until now as any instructions about that or guidelines about that. So it should be okay. It is naturally because you think of a startup, right? How many percent of that will survive, right? And also think of the processing time now. As I said, that after 10 years, the startups will no longer be innovative, right? It will be driven away from the market, replaced by something else, right? So if it's like driven by markets, it's okay. It should be okay.
Yeah, I think from what I hear, IRCC is focused on the individuals, not necessarily the companies. Because if you're an entrepreneurial person or serial entrepreneur, if the company fails that you use for the startup visa program is not successful, the hope is that because you're an entrepreneurial person, you'll start the next company and then potentially the next company and the next company. And at some point, you'll have a company that's actually successful, creating jobs, increasing GDP, etc. And the point about the 10-year thing, like the company hopefully should be successful by the end of the 10 years.
Mhm.
Like if they're waiting, as opposed to, sitting around and having technology that's idle.
Mhm.
Like your job is to make that company generate cash flow and be a successful business within that 10-year period. Like that should be the focus, I think.
Yeah.
I think it is an survival for 10 years. You cannot say a startup is established business after 10 years. 10 years so much for a startup to survive. So
Yeah.
if they can survive this time, we can say, okay, you're established business, not the startup. After passing this time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, I fully agree because for 10 years, there is no way your original stuff can success, right?
Yeah.
After 10 years, it need to be something else, definitely. Maybe a traditional business or maybe something else that as long as still have the innovative feature out of that and then contribute to Canada, it still be okay. I have another question here that does work permit extension application have the same refusal rate as a first work permit, and should we apply for worker visa extend as well?
Can you repeat that?
So the first question is for the work permit extension, is it have the same refusal rate as the first time application?
It depends. Of course, from inside Canada, it's still a bit better for the first application from outside Canada for now, but things may change, and of course it depends on how you justify the extension, because again, if the business updates doesn't show anything, right? Then IRCC will ask, what's the point of extending your work permit?
The second question is, should we apply for worker visa extend as well? I'm not sure whether worker visa extend.
Well, maybe the question is about the visa stamped on on the passports, and then it's something else, right? If you want to travel outside Canada and the visa stamp expired, then you need a new one, right? But it can only be issued after you have a work permit.
And we have actually another case that can they apply for visa and then come back with visa visitor visa while waiting for the
Yeah, it depends on the plan, but when they come back, they can't work until they have a work permit.
Yeah, no further question on the,
Mhm.
is there anything else?
Maybe just end on some final thoughts, positive ideas. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of changing happening right now. Potentially, there's going to be new immigration levels announced in November. There's a lot of clickbait out there as well. Potentially, people capitalizing on the anxiety that's floating through the ecosystem. So, do your best to stay positive. Focus on your business, make it successful, and document everything. Add it to your folder to provide evidence to IRCC. Heaven forbid you're challenged, and you can show them that, look, this is a real business. My intention is absolutely genuine, and this is why my integrity is in line with the startup visa program, and I'm going to contribute to the economy here. So you could always bring that and challenge IRCC or use it as an opportunity to show them that you should be approved.
Yeah, I share with Stuart on that. And for me now, I see the opportunities in challenges. That's always my thoughts is that some years ago when the immigration policy was easy, so any project will be treated the same, right? Whether it's a good one, a bad one will be approved, right? But now when it comes to more scrutinized from the IRCCs and they will read carefully, I can tell that IRCCs now they're reading documents carefully. So it's a good chance for those who are doing real business. Because you are doing business and you have records of what you're doing, progress, efforts, spending that you put in your business. And if you're doing real one, don't be scared. That is your opportunities, right? And you will show the officer that, hey, sir, madam, here's what you're looking for, right? But you can't do that if you don't do anything, right? And those who are doing not the right business will be screened out, right? Or within 10 years, right? That 35 years timeline, processing time, you will be here, right? You'll be here, depending on how strong your business is, right? That is your chance to get to move forward and get what you're looking for. Okay. So that's all my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, something to keep in mind is that, like, Canada needs people like yourselves, entrepreneurs, to create opportunities here. Like a lot of Canadians, statistically, are not as entrepreneurial as other regions. And so if there is a population that isn't creating enough new companies and new work opportunities and new innovation, then the economy could suffer. So that's hopefully a little bit of encouragement right there.
Yeah, for my closing note, I actually go back to your question about mistake. What I can say is not really a mistake, but used to be a misunderstanding from SUV founder that after they apply for PR, it's done, right? Like just wait and see. And I guess after the last 2 years, everything changed, and now I don't see many people have that kind of misunderstanding anywhere. But then there's still a lot of founders. Actually, the fact that you guys are here, meaning that you really want to do something for your business. And in the current backlog right now, the latest number is like 44,000, right? So if you go to processing time as SUV website, you can see the backlog and how many people in front of you. I believe in that 44,000 that there's still a lot of people that still have that misunderstanding. They still believe that they don't have to do anything, or they still waiting for work permit from ICC to do something, or even they still saying that I need PR to come Canada to do something. So they still stuck with that misunderstanding. So you already have a much better chance because now you understand you have to do something. So go back to whether it's like 5 years or 10 years, I guess instead of focus on that or focus on the very negative news out there, we should focus on our business. We come in here to do business, and as long as we keep moving and go back to all the advice from Stuart and Tan about like we need to show progress. And ICC really want to see us trying. So as long as we are still trying, we should be fine. And because for all the thing about processing time or BUC 12 or BUC whatever, there's nothing we can control about that. The only thing we can control is our business and focus on like making it forward, whether in the current direction or change to new direction or whatever. As long as there are movement, I think we should be fine. Yeah, that's my final sharing.
Great, thank you. Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah,
Thank
that's a
you.
great-
Stuart,
yeah, thank
and
you, Stuart.
everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, so so for the next part, I guess we can take a group photos, and some of you are requested to have a private session with Stuart to share some update. We can arrange for you guys here, maybe a quick one. Then we can do also networking outside. We still have a lot of tidbits to finish. Okay,
Keep
so
that away from me, please.
Okay,
I'm just joking, it's fine.
and you try to say something.
Oh, yes, my question is for Mr. Tan. So, do you think exact will be the balance if I change my business plan, you know, because long-term process? So, maybe my business plan will be out of date. That's the first point, checkpoint I submit. So maybe by follow the market trends, I will be adjust my business direction, also being more people advantage, but maybe it's different with the first edition that I, you know.
From the beginning,
Yeah,
right?
ICC, yeah.
Yeah,
It's now totally different. It's still in the same industry, but maybe a little bit adjustment, you know.
yeah. So the first point of contact should be the EO who's working with you, that wrote you the letter of support to you. And they should be the person who reviewed the new business plan and see if they approve the new change, right? So, yeah, if you have that change of business plan, speak with the designated organization who wrote the letter of support for your project. And then, if you have a strong grounds of change and you can justify it, there's no, I don't think that IRCC would think, no, I don't allow you to change because you're doing business, right? In a real business, you may change the direction because of the market, because of so many factors. As long as you keep doing something makes sense and supported by the DO, then you may update IRCC. And if it makes sense, I don't think that would be a problem, but it should be a lot of care. But think of without the change, the business will not make any sense or make a loss,
Especially
a big loss. Then no one will do it, right? And IRCC will not look into a losing business, a dying business to grant PR, right? To that group of business persons. So if it makes sense, if it's supported by the DO, then you could go ahead and persuade IRCC to change the business plan.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
I have, I submitted PR like last year. When I submitted PR, I checked the processing time. It's only 32 months. Do you know IRCC they lay off some staff or not? Then it increase the processing time. I want to know the IRCC they lay off their staff or not, because in fact I think that the factor of processing times long 10 years like that, it's not because of the application they apply after me. So I expect that I will get like approval in 32 months at the first time, but now it's go to 10 years. So my idea is not the main factor from the last application, but about the IRCC themselves, that they do the start or they change the policy. So am I right about that? 10 years is not it's not real news, so it's still 22 months, something like that.
Sorry, I don't have insights much insights.
And then I submit when I submit the PR, the processing time only 32 months, right? But now it's go to 10 years. I check online. Why it changed like that? Because
I wish I had the real concrete answer to your question, and everyone here does the same. But there's many factors we have discussed earlier. And yeah, IRCCs also they may not have the concrete answer as to how long it should be. It's just like depending on the resources, depending on various factors that may affect the length of the processing time. Sorry, I can't tell you that how long it should be.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you everyone. Let's do a photo together.
Which way?
Well,